You are now listening to the I Think I Love My Wife podcast. And this is your best friend's best friend, Chidozie Okafor, ready to take you on another journey. Are you with me? Because I'm ready. Let's get it. In this episode 4 of our 10-part bonus series, we talk about the differences between daddy issues and abandonment issues. We also discuss the importance for guys to value the process just as much as the results. We discuss the phrase happy wife equals happy life and talk about how true that is, as well as the difference between knowing someone and trusting someone. But I agree with you in the sense that, I agree with you, but I want to put a caveat that I don't think you're saying it, and I know I'm not saying it in a way that like, oh, these differences mean like run for the hills if you see it. I think it really depends on the person, because someone could take an environment that they are not accustomed to, or theirs was complete opposite of their partner's, and make them really uncomfortable, right? And then that's something you have to really align to. And someone else could see that same situation that's the opposite of theirs and be like, I love that. I wish I would have had it. And they like leap forward into it. And so it kind of just depends on the person and how they perceive that thing that's in contrast to what they received. And I think in my experience, I see people either like pull back from it because they're uncomfortable, or lean forward because like they're like, I wish I would have had that.
See it as an opportunity.
Yeah. Like, well, me and my family didn't kick it often, but y'all do everything together. Someone's like, damn, we spend all the time with your family. That sucks, right? And someone else like, right. I wish my family was this close. I love spending time with your family, right? And so it can go either way. You just gotta have to, understand, what that is and be able to communicate it. That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, that self-awareness is huge. Okay, getting back to the father and daughter dynamics, one thing that I think is interesting, and I want to see if this has been true for you. But there's this term, daddy issues, and, quote unquote, she got daddy issues or whatever. Do you feel that you've dated someone that has had daddy issues? Or is that even a topic of conversation that comes up with men? I'm curious because obviously you've had many, many different conversations with husbands, and it sounds like most of them, their wives have come from two-family households. But it's a sort of prevalent thing in the Black community. And I want to know if you have even thought about it, especially given the fact that you have dated women whose fathers who didn't grow up in the same household with. And that piece, the daddy issues piece, but also how that relates to like independence, right? Like I think there's a correlation or relation between women who grow up without their fathers in the home, living in the home or not in the picture at all, and like those women over-indexing and being quote unquote independent women. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think there's like levels or layers in that. I'll try to hit like the three that stood out for me. I think one, I'm gonna preface it by saying I don't know what like 100% what daddy issues mean. And so I can give you my perspective. I think you can have daddy issues with your parent, your father not around, and you can have it with your father around. I think depending on what that relationship was like, whether you were like super spoiled, or even if your father was there but like not necessarily there present, I think you can have daddy issues where you are trying to find that level of love through your partner, right? And your partner's not meant to be your father, right? Like that's a whole completely different role. I do think that people that haven't had their father around, whether consciously or subconsciously, can have abandonment issues because they are yearning. Like I think they are triggered by things that make them feel like they are not wanted. And I think that's something that no matter how much you have community around you, no matter how much your mother or father, whoever is there, loves on you, right? The fact that you know that like quote unquote naturally you're supposed to have a mother and father there and one person's missing, can subconsciously create this space where you feel like I wasn't good enough, right? And so you then become triggered when you're in a position where someone's going to leave and not wanting to have that same similar feeling. And so I think people can have abandonment issues that don't have a parent around, but I think you can have daddy issues whether you have that parent or not around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely makes
And
sense.
I think so. I don't know that I think I probably dealt with abandonment issues to a degree. And it being more triggered that like in how we like, I would say communicate or argue. And so I'm a person like, I'm never going to like disrespect someone that I'm with. Right. I don't have it in me to like disrespect someone. And so I know when I get upset or it gets to that point, for me, it's not about who wins the argument or that moment. It's like, I don't want to say anything that's going to make this worse. Right. And so I tend to shut down, not because I don't know how to communicate. I just know that's to a point where I'm no longer thinking about it from a sense of like a productive conversation. And for someone that has abandonment issues, me shutting down or wanting to walk away may feel like I'm leaving them, right? When I just need that time. And someone that doesn't have that may realize what it is, right? And so those are things you just got to navigate with people and understand like their background. And some people that have abandonment issues don't know that they have it because it's not until that moment happens that it's triggered for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. The thing you're saying about leaving a conversation or an argument, disagreement, or letting it be is really interesting because I would relate that to the fact that your parents have been married for a long time. And maybe it's just because I think the wisdom that I have received around marriage is around the fact that you're not going to always be right. And
what? I'm playing. It's a joke.
You're not going to always be right, Chidozie. Sorry.
No, yeah.
But it's a matter of like not always trying to be right and like preferring the other person or just knowing when to like let your pride go and let the other person win. One of my friends told me that years ago after he got married, and I thought that was so interesting.
Oh yeah.
Because that's just how he is. He's just like, well, yeah, I just
you're gonna take some L's. You're gonna take some L's, and I've learned like that's part of it. Like I have to learn personally, like as someone told me on the podcast, what's my big rock, what's my little rock, and what's small rocks, right? And I can't harp on everything. And sometimes that's just me being in my head. Like I think sometimes that when big rocks aren't aligned or you're having issues with big rocks, that like it can like manifest itself in the little rocks, right? Not all of it's symbolic of the things that you actually are having issue with a bigger rock. And so I have to be more mindful of like where I'm picking to choose my battles, and where like what things like don't matter as much, which is like hard. But like it's something that like, over time it's hard because it looks different with each person you're with, right? And like it's not like, okay, I know what these little rocks are. I'm out of this relationship. I'm in another one. Same little rocks. Like it all looks different every time. So it's constant adjustment and recognition of, or the process of trying to recognize what those things are in the context of what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. The learning how to choose your battles. That's it. Yeah. That's the phrase.
But we also live in like this. I can't say this for all women, but I know a lot of people are on this whole like never go to bed mad at each other. It's like that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like sometimes you need to sleep on it. like sometimes you don't feel better until after you've slept. Like if you stayed awake, you would just still be mad. And I think it's okay. Like I think having that expectation that like, oh, we're never gonna go to sleep upset is just like you setting yourself up for failure. Sometimes you need to sleep on it. Sometimes you need a day or two to like finish feeling how you're feeling. And maybe I'm speaking for myself because I know I'm not a person that gets upset easily, but when I'm upset, like it just takes me a long time to like finish feeling what I'm feeling and processing it in a way where like I've rationalized or can understand why I feel the way I feel, and to be able to now have like get out of that to have a productive conversation. But if I'm going through that process and you're like, can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? It's like you're poking a bear that's trying to calm down, right? And I can understand the flip side of it. Like, I just want it to be over and move forward. But like, everything doesn't, I think another big lesson that we have to learn is like, everything doesn't happen on your time. And if you think things are going to happen on your time, you're also setting yourself up for failure, because like you're in a partnership and you gotta like, you know how they say like you're as weak as the weakest link. You're as slow as the slowest person in that situation. Like, you have to like, give that person that space, and you can encourage them to like, hey, this ain't like sustainable. Like, you're gonna have to figure out how to like get over these things quicker, but you have to like go at their pace in the same way that like you would expect someone to go at your pace if you weren't ready to do something either.
Yes, I think what you were saying. I'm telling you, I'm really gravitating toward this think feel thing, because to me, what you just described is like men want to think about it and process it, and they have a feeling, and then they want to think about it and they want to process it, and then they come back. Like, that is the loop, versus the woman is like thinking, feeling, probing, thinking, feeling, poking, thinking, feeling, like it's all,
and you're like,
happening at the
leave me
same
the
time.
hell alone. Like, shit, I would tell you when I get to my conclusion, because I think you know what it is, to be honest. You know how they talk about like, you know, you do Myers-Briggs, right?
Yeah.
And like everybody thinks, you know, the I and the E, introvert, extrovert, is all about like, oh, who wants to be out and about and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Half of it is how people think. And like an extrovert doesn't mind like that brainstorming. Like, let's say you're at work and, hey, we want to talk about some like what we're gonna do next steps. An extrovert doesn't mind being in a room where we're all talking about it like together and in the moment. Well, like an introvert wants to like sit in their thoughts, think about it, and then say, hey, let me come to the table with my thoughts now, because I can't do it in the midst. And I'd imagine that an extrovert, as they are going through this process, they recognize the more we do it, the more refined my thoughts are going to be, because I'm like going through it real time. And I think that's how women process things in real time. And so what also happens is that like your first set of like thinkings may not be the accurate or most real thinking. Like, in the midst of it, after you've gone through it and talked about it, you know, at length, then you get to the conclusion. The guy's like, I don't care about the process to get there, right? I just care about what it is at the end of it. And that's where we miss each other a lot. And I know in one of my relationships before, one of the issues that we had was that I'm such a destination person. And part of that's like results oriented. Like, what are we trying to do? Cool. I'm going to make sure we get that done. And a lot of women are the journey. They're like,
Yes.
It's about the journey to get there that matters to them. And when you don't realize that, then you're butting heads, because I'm like, you said you wanted this. This happened. But she wanted this to happen this way. and the tension point comes because the guy feels unappreciated because you asked for this and he made this happen. And all you're focusing on is the process, and you discount this. And the woman is like, this matters just as much as the end result. And we miss each other a lot on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a part of the compartmentalization piece, and women just being
The journey matters.
more real time.
Yeah, the process matters.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like I've been in many disagreements or conversations where it's like, I don't want to talk about the solution. Okay. I want to talk about the whole thing, and it's just like, but why?
Yeah, it's like, why are we like? Okay, I get you mad. You're not happy with me. Okay, like, what are we doing about it? How do we fix it?
Yeah, exactly. That's really funny. Okay, that's interesting.
But I think what you get when you talk to guys that are married is that, I don't know if guys that are married just like give up in terms of it, or
I mean, it makes sense.
Or they're just like, but it's almost like they've lost a little bit of fire to fight.
Yes,
and probably for good reason. Like, they're like, at the end of the day, like, trust me, it's worth it. But like, I think part of what I've received from guys that I talk to that are married is that like, you just have to care more, or at least put up the sense that you care more about that process. And to discount the process, you're going to lose every time. And
Mm.
when you're married, you can't afford to lose. Like as a guy, like you can't afford to like be like you can't be like when you like if you're being honest. Like I ask the question to guys like who runs the household, the guy or the woman, and the answers vary. But like at the end of the day, like the guy's only as happy as his wife is. Like his happy wife, happy life is real. And so when he's thinking about it, like I don't want to be unhappy all the time. Like this little thing here, if I could just pay attention to like the process and engage in the way that she wants, I'd be happy in the long run. So just do it. But I think it's easier to do that when you like know I'm gonna be with this person forever. Than like
Yeah, when you're bought
like
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like fully invested than when like I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that like when women are thinking about it or when they want to know more about the process, the journey, et cetera, what they're really saying is that they want to be acknowledged. Because like a solution, I think guys often come to solutions even before it's fully talked about or discussed. And for a man to come to a solution without actually discussing it with the woman, then it's like, wait, is this a us thing or is this a you thing? Because we didn't even talk about this, yet you already have a solution. So I'm not sure if my voice is actually being accounted for. And that's not really the type of equality that women want in a relationship. And I guess I'm using like more partner related things as an example, not like, oh, are we going to fix the car on Saturday or Sunday? Like, sure, you can decide. But when it comes to like a vacation, for example, oh, I want to go on vacation and a man just books a vacation. It's like, well,
Okay,
did you even
that's a little
ask
much.
me?
That's a little much. Okay, yeah, I agree. On that example, he's tripping. He's like, babe, where you want to go? That's the question I'm asking. Where we going? What we doing?
Right, right, right.
I was thinking about it more in the sense of like I can see how, like, especially after an argument or a disagreement. I don't want to say argument because you can have a disagreement and not argue, but after a disagreement, how the guy is very much like, how do I fix? And so he's trying to fix, and maybe either y'all are not in the state to like let's have a like productive conversation on next steps, but he's like I need to fix, and so he might try to resolve without like seeing if this resolution is okay with you.
Right.
So I can understand that, but on the flip side of that, sometimes that may be the case, what you talked about. On other times, y'all just in y'all feelings. And I think women have to like understand like what happens is y'all be in y'all feelings and then y'all apologize later because y'all realize that y'all was doing too much. And like
Or we realize that we are thinking and changing our minds. Like it's acknowledging, like, okay, I
you
felt
know what a
this way
guy says to
yesterday,
that?
but I feel different
You know what a
today.
guy says to that? Figure that shit out and then let's talk. Like
No,
why we,
that's not how we work.
if you're
That's
not,
it's not
if
real
you're not
time.
sure yet on what you want to do, why are we talking about it?
It's not real
I'm
time.
glad you
We
said
wanna
that.
be
Like
able-
we still try to figure it out. You done told me two things. I took those data points, figured out a solution, and then you changed how you feel. It's like, bruh, come on.
It's a compromise. It's a compromise.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. But what I was going to is that like in some scenarios, I don't know what the percentages are. They're like three solutions, right? They're like only three options or two options
I
based
don't
off
think
of like
women think like that.
no, but no, I get it. And sometimes they should. But like they're literally like we could talk about this like 17 different ways. You could tell me all your feelings, and there's still two options, and we got to pick one. But like the man might have been able to deduce that, but you don't care because it's like I'm still trying to communicate how I feel, and I don't think that you know that. And the guy's like, I get that you're not happy. Your unhappiness doesn't really matter because these are the two options we got. And that's part of why I think that God has made man and women together because you need that balance.
Yeah.
You need someone that's gonna be very much in tune to what's going on in the moment, and you need someone that's also like, hey, it's too much crazy shit right now. We can't like you're a woman, and I'm gonna be. This might sound sexist, but I know like what'd you say?
I said, uh-oh.
No, I know situations like my friends have had, and I've been in it where like talking to your girl, and she's like stressed out about all these things that really don't matter. Like, but she's a woman and she cares more than she probably should about certain things, whether it's related to her job or whatever. And like as a guy, like baby, you either can do this or you can do that. At the end of the day, once we finish like talking about how you feel, these two options are going to be left, but she's still feeling. And like, you need a guy to be like, it doesn't matter. This is what we got to do. We can feel later. And you need a woman sometimes to be like, forget what we're going to do. We need to be in it now, especially with children. Like, we need to be in it now. And I think that balance is why God created man and women to be together, because you need that healthy tension point to find the best solution in the right situation.
Absolutely. And that's when it's a true healthy partnership and an enterprise. Because if you think about family as a unit, as a team or whatever, like, it's like work. Like, if you go to work and everybody's thinking the same, then you're not going to be the most productive, creative, innovative that you can be. So you need different points of views. And I think it's healthy to like challenge each other in that way, and to have healthy friction in negotiation. I honestly believe that. I think that's why we have relationships. Like, it's for the edification of yourself and of your partnership, relationship, etc. And I think that applies to friendships as well. So I agree with you. Balance is key, and it can be really, really healthy for the partnership.
Yeah, it is the because we're all different, and even though we may like think about it the same way, but we may approach that same thing very differently on the guy side as well as on the women's side. It's a process to understand that with the person you're dealing with, right? And I would say even more, get to a point where you trust it to go with it, right? Because we're all like coming from places like, I don't know you that well. We're trying to like condense, like we're trying to condense this process, right? Like I'm over 30. I'm trying to see if you the one, and like I'm trying to find data points, whether superficial or not. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I trust your decision making, you know. Right, and that takes time, that takes experience, that takes like some of that stuff you can't figure out until you deal with it, right? To see how it plays out, or how it played out, to know like, okay, this was crazy situation. This person showed me X, Y, Z in it. I know I can trust this person in this way. And you can't manufacture that sometimes. That's why when people are always like, how long should you date someone before you make it official? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I would be doing you a disservice to give you a time. Like, okay, 3 years might be ridiculous, but like, someone can have a really crazy experience in their first 2 months that shows them some things that they may have not would have seen within a year. Or like one of my exes, we met each other and we traveled together. It was a big group that traveled together. So I saw a lot of things when you see a lot of things when you travel with someone. Yeah. I saw a lot of things up front before we were together that like, okay, I was like, okay, I'm seeing these. So that expedited some of the process for us. And so we, as much as we are microwaving the scenarios to see if we're a fit, what we have to realize is that like, we still don't trust each other. Like, we can say, I trust you not to cheat. Or I trust you if I ask you to do something, like, you're going to do what you said you're going to do. But in those situations, like, when I don't know if I can rely on your judgment yet because I haven't seen it play out, that's what it really comes down to. It's like that level of trust and like dependability, or like I have an assurance in how you're going to operate to know that you got it, to not care about what we do and go with what you say. I really wish we could go further and deeper on this topic, but that's a wrap for our episode 4 of our 10-part bonus series. Be sure to check in next week when I drop episode 5 and 6. In episode 5, we'll talk about the true value of companionship, go a little bit further on the dating apps and the different dynamics and expectations that form with them. We'll talk about the illusion of interest, and also I'll share some details on what I'm looking for in my future wife. In the meantime, I just want to thank all of the listeners. I want to thank Brittany for being on this journey with me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the I Think I Love My Wife podcast. We're on all major platforms, and make sure you tell your friends about it too. Be sure to find updates on Instagram at ThinkLoveWife, and when you get a chance, leave a review. In the meantime, I hope the conversation keeps going.